When I was 16, I remember I wanted to take this girl out, and I thought she was the prettiest girl ever, so I reached out through Facebook, because this was a couple years back, and I remember she said yes, so I showed up to her house to pick her up, and as a good gentleman, I got out of my car, and I went to go get her, and I remember the mom invited me to come inside, and she's like, hey, come inside, I just made some food! And if you know anything about Hispanics, you know moms and grandmas will feed you to the grave. And that's what this mom did. I told her, I'm like, look, mama, like, I already ate. I'm actually so good. And she's like, no, but I made some. You have to eat it. And she sat me down, and she's like, look, if you don't eat everything that's on the plate, that's bad manners. And I was like, oh, man, you know what? Yeah, just put a little bit. I don't want to lie. And this mom, I'm convinced, was plotting against me because she brought the biggest plate known to man. And I remember not only did she give me one plate, she gave me 2 plates, and they were both packed. As big as she could pack him in the plate, and then she brought some dessert, she brought some ice cream, and it was so bad because then we finally got to leave, we went to the movies, but you know that feeling when you go to Chipotle or when you go to one of those like God-sent restaurants that feed you till you can eat no more, and you literally have to take 30 minutes to sit there like this and just try to breathe because you can't breathe or talk or do anything because you are so full. Well, yes, that is the state this mom left me in. So the date was completely ruined. We went to the movies and we were sitting there and I literally couldn't talk. I couldn't even enjoy the movie. And I remember halfway through the movie, my stomach sent a red flag. My stomach literally said, my guy, you have 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, no. This can't be it. Stomach, stop. And I remember just sitting there and I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the girl's hand and I said, hey, we need to go. So we stood up, we left, and I drove her home. And yes, my mama raised me right, so I got out of the car, I walked her to her door, and as we're getting to her door, my stomach sends me another text message. My stomach says, my guy, you have 10 seconds. And I was like, no. So she opens the door and she goes to hug me goodbye, and I was like, actually, time out. Do you have a bathroom? I need your bathroom. And she's like, yeah, second door to the left. I don't know why I just gave her that voice. She had a nice voice, don't judge her. So I remember running into the bathroom, and as soon as I opened the door, my stomach rejected everything that was in it, and it came through my mouth. In other words, I started to throw up, but it wasn't just regular throw up. It was like that projectile throw up that even if you try to cover it, and I know some of the girls are watching around, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe he's talking about that. But yes, it was all over the place, but since I wasn't familiar with the bathroom, I didn't know where the sink was, where the toilet was, where anything was, so I just kind of walked in, I was like, throw up went everywhere, but don't worry, I managed to stay clean myself. So when I finished my business, I just kind of grabbed the towel, and I wish I could tell you that I was a good enough person to stay behind and clean, but I was so mad at the mom that she had done that to me that I literally grabbed the towel and I just went, and I bounced. I closed the door and I said, thank you very much. And it's simple to say that I never saw the girl again, I never saw the mom again. But there's no worse feeling than being filled with something that it doesn't sit right. With something that isn't pushing you towards your potential, with something that isn't actually nourishing your body. So I'm thinking, what do you fill your spirit with? Are you filled with stuff that fills you? Are you really filled with things that satisfy your soul, with things that feed your soul? Or are you just filled with things that don't really fill who you are, who you need to be? And I love what the Bible says, because the Bible paints a perfect image of what happens when we fill ourselves with stuff that doesn't really fill us, with stuff that doesn't really fulfill us. And the Bible says like this in Colossians, actually it's Galatians, my bad. And this is basically an image of today's society, so I'm gonna read it slow. It's obvious what kind of life develops out of trying to get our own way all the time. Repetitive lives, loveless lives, cheap sex, a stinking accumulation of mental and emotional garbage, frenzied and joyless grabs for happiness, trinket gods, magic show religion, paranoid loneliness, cutthroat competition, all consuming yet never satisfying wants.
a brutal temper, an impotence to love or be loved, divided homes and divided lives, small-minded and lopsided pursuits, a vicious habit of depersonalizing everyone into rivals, uncontrolled and uncontrollable addictions, ugly parodies of community. And I love what the Apostle Paul says. He says, I could go on. And that's literally what happens when we decide to fill our soul with what doesn't fill us. So my question is, what are you filling yourself with? What are you taking time to really put inside of your soul? And I love the Bible because it never leaves us where we're at. Because that literally just painted an image of where our humanity's at. But I love it because it doesn't leave us where we're at. But literally the following verses paint an image of what happens when we decide to fill ourselves with the Spirit. And it says like this. But what happens when we live God's way? He brings the gifts into our lives, much the same way that fruit appears on a tree. Things like affection for others, exuberance about life, serenity, in other words, peace. We develop a willingness to stick with things, a sense of compassion in the heart, a conviction that a basic holiness permeates things and people. We find ourselves involved in loyal commitments, not needing to force our way through lives, available and able to marshal and direct our energies wisely. And if you want to read this at home by yourselves, man, just go find Galatians 5. And I'm reading out of the Message translation, but I love it because it really, really points an image and it paints the image of what life was designed for us to be like. And it's almost as if I grab an empty water bottle, and I love the Bible because it says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. And imagine me grabbing a water bottle, an empty water bottle, and putting pressure on it. An empty water bottle has no strength to really hold the pressure that I'm going to apply on it. But if I grab a full water bottle, a water bottle that's never been opened, a water bottle that's sealed, a water bottle that's filled with water, I can apply pressure to it, but it's not going to bend, it's not going to break, it's not going to give. And the Bible even says it. He who is in you is greater than who is not in you. So the God that is inside of you is way greater and way bigger than the mountain that's in front of you, than the giant that's in front of you. So my question is, will you choose to be filled with the Spirit? Will you choose to be filled with the joy of the Lord? With the happiness, with the peace that the Spirit gives? And I love how the Bible says that it's the fruit of the Spirit, not the fruits. So once you have the Spirit, you have everything that I was just reading. This compassion, this drive for life. And I really challenge you to read it by yourselves, because I promise you that you're going to read this life that almost seems impossible. Because by yourself, it is impossible. But with the Spirit, even Jesus said, hey, you need me to leave so that I can send the help, or something better is coming. The Spirit is coming. So if you have the Spirit, if you involve the Spirit in your life, the Bible says that anything is possible. So I challenge you. What are you filling yourself with? What's inside of you? And what's really, really, really filling you up to be able to withstand that pressure that life places? We'll see you next week.